Welcome back to another episode. We are on episode 7 of the Family Table Podcast, the Family Table Show. We are back. My name is Corey Phillips,
I'm Cameron Phillips.
Patrick Phillips.
Christian Phillips.
and we are here just on Father's Day. Again, we are triplet sons. We are here with our dad, and we are here to talk about how families can create wealth, as well as it's the same time as Juneteenth weekend here in Chicago. We have amazing conversations that we have for today because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our father. So it's super important that we continue to go and share this, share love to your father, send it to someone that you appreciate because they are the foundation of our families. And that's something that we need to continue to recognize within our communities. Because oftentimes you don't even know that Father's Day is like probably the 15th most celebrated holiday. Mother's Day is the second most celebrated holiday behind Christmas. And Father's Day is all the way down at like 15. So what do you all think the importance of Father's Day and how it may be underrepresented compared to other holidays as well, especially Mother's Day?
Well, I feel like that Father's Day is like statistically unrepresented because of just the notion that men don't really need to be recognized because you're just supposed to do what you're supposed to do. So just that notion itself can almost create the idea that men don't need to be valued, that men are basically just doing what they're supposed to do. And if you're not strong, then you're just whatever.
I also see that from a standpoint of it being seen as a duty to be a father, a duty to provide. And when it comes to duty, a lot of people believe that it's not something that needs to be recognized, that should be necessarily celebrated, because it is the expectation, the bare minimum.
And I think really just as far as the community, especially the Black community, they try to say that we as people are not continuing to move forward and be together as a family. We need more positive representation of fathers who are doing great things. And that's something that we're going to continue to push within the narrative that we are productive people and we're going to have productive fathers, but also collective units. It's less about having us versus them perspectives that they try to push within mainstream media, but real wealth is when we have positive role models. Even if someone doesn't have a main father, you have a coach, you have teachers, you have community members, you have other family members. And it's more than just putting fathers out there that they're not doing something, but talk about how people can go and create collective growth together. I think that's something that's super important.
As a man, I've learned that my duties are my duties, and they need to be done, whether someone wants to award me or recognize me or not. I've just learned that whatever needs to be done needs to be done, and it's going to be done, and without the expectations of someone giving me recognition. So. Right. And I believe that's the way society has looked at it too, as far as men. Men are expected to do what they need to do, and and it doesn't, from a societal standpoint, they look at it as something that really shouldn't or shouldn't be recognized because it's a expected duty.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something. I think there's so much pressure that's put on a specific figure. What do you feel like in 2026 as the role of a father has shifted compared to what it used to be back in the day?
Well, I would say just from like observation, like obviously it wasn't around during that time, but just the idea of what changed is, I would say in the past, like let's say the 1960, I think around 1920 was around 1920, 1940 was when the wars were happening. So basically at that time,
World War I and World War II.
Yeah, the World Wars. So that was around a time where you were basically just expected just to be in the military, fight for the country. So in that notion, when the men came back, your expectation was really just to almost be a provider, to be like the figure of the house. And then as time went on, I've noticed that you are now having to have more of an emotional role in the family, where people are no longer just fine with you just being like, I pay the bills and I don't have to know anything about you.
Yeah.
But just having more of an emotional role is something that I've noticed that things shifted.
Well, I mean, I just think that it's a little bit like over the course of time, it used to be just go and give work, but now you see more women getting into more prominent positions. You see them being able to go and take over certain households in different basically different ways that might be outside of what people might call traditional households. You know, you have more men staying at home, and you have some women working. But I feel like, as far as men, there's now kind of this idea of the weaponization of masculinity within men in society.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, there are certain things that happen, but there's not as many spaces for men to be able to go and be open and be themselves authentically, especially black men, because a lot of black men are weaponized as being, what do you think? What you call it? Like being
Too vulnerable.
not vulnerable, but I feel like they're as only being someone that's just outwardly going, like they're someone that's always categorized as being just aggressive or things like that, right? Like anything like that. Like, I think it's important that they have to kind of shift that narrative from black men that they're not productive members of society.
But let's look at that environment that you brought up, from the position of men back in the 1920s and 40s, where they were going to war. In that setting, the women were the heads of the household because the men weren't gone. I mean, because the men were gone.
Right.
So again, that's pretty much in the same situation that many households are now. The women are the heads of the household because the men are not around because they were in the military. And now it's just because men are not being a part of the family. In the military situation, once the men came back, now the children don't even know them because they've been gone for however long they've gone. So now they just got to fit into that environment. You know, so I think it's kind of parallel.
It's a duality.
Right.
Yeah, I think it all depends on the situation. I think, of course, that was a specific time period, but we're looking just at the progression overall, of men overall. I think that today the idea of being a man is not just about being the strongest or being able to go and just work, but it means more being able to work collectively with others, being able to show determination, being able to show how you can adjust and being aware in certain situations. And that's where the future of men, but also collaboration with others, understanding that it's okay to be the same way, but also being able to be vulnerable, but as well as being open to new ideas. And that's what a lot of, I think, newer men are not able to be open towards that new idea. But it's super important for us to continue to shift that narrative moving forward because Father's Day is super important. So I'm going to shift it to another conversation. We talked about this weekend is this Juneteenth. So Juneteenth for you all is basically for African Americans. That's when we will realize that a lot of African Americans were actually free. Basically marks on June 19th, 1865, when enslaved African Americans in Texas learned they had been legally freed more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. But freedom on paper and freedom in practice have never been the same thing. So what do you think freedom really means in 2026?
I think freedom is determined by the individual, because again, you can throw out the term of being free, but what is your definition of freedom? My definition may be different than yours, and yours may be different than Cameron's, and Cameron's may be different from Christian's. So, I believe everybody's free. Is just that each individual puts their own restrictions on them. Mm-hmm. So that takes the freedom away.
Right. I think people think they're free. We're in 2026, but most people psychologically aren't free because people are so focused on things that don't actually matter. They're worried about who's trying to impress other people. They're worried about what type of ideology they have that's in their own specific way. People are trying to go and have no morals. They don't have a lot of things where they're going towards different goals. And they think that their whole entire identity is based off of who can get the most attention and who has the most money. without having that things behind it that actually matters, such as values, such as having different standards, such as actually going and treating people that you're supposed to treat them. I feel like that's the biggest thing, that people think that freedom, that they're free, but the world around them is shifting, but people are so ingrained inside the internet and things that don't actually matter, that they don't actually go and actually aren't free. They're physically free, but they're not, because of all the different things. People are so worried about certain things, they don't have that level of sincerity.
I feel that people more so seek the illusion of freedom than actual freedom. People go after, as you said, people go after all these things like fast cars or big houses, but in reality, a lot of them are actually putting themselves behind. They're handicapping themselves, and in the act of getting these things that they feel makes them look either wealthy or free or whatever, they're kind of eliminating their potential gains.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you brought up the point about standards, because again, to go after money, actually you're enslaving yourself, allowing the money to enslave yourself. Because if that's what you're focusing on, and then you're not looking at the people that you affect, and how you deal with individuals. Because again, it's good to have money, but not to the point where you put that first, and you just mistreat folks, and then your standards and your priorities are just thrown away for to be seeking money. Because again, money is just a tool.
Right. Because a lot of people think they have money, but they don't actually, they forget where they came from, or they forget the people that helped them get there.
Or a lot of the times they forget what they're actually working towards.
Right. And realize when you take a lot of money from a lot of these people, they don't have anything. They're only filled with things to impress other people, but they're only doing this for some real purpose. But real wealth is not even tied to the money amount, but it's about the freedom and value that you're able to provide to others. And some people are just trying to go and get money at a cost, but at what chance? A lot of people in Chicago, they think because we celebrate with going on yachts or with designer clothes or expensive restaurants, that they think that they made it, but they're not actually going to set themselves up for freedom. People spend their 20s in an illusion of thinking that your whole entire life is built off of likes, based off of clicks, based off of association of things that aren't actually real, when you need to actually build things that can actually build towards your actual foundation and actually towards that future self that you always want. And that's why so many people in their 20s feel like they're cut short, or they feel like they don't have some sort of purpose, because they're not going after anything. They're going off the instant clicks, instant swipes, instant gratification, instant relationships, instant everything. And they think that everything is going to come, but it takes 20, 30, 40, 50 years to build something that's sustainable, especially being a millionaire. Most people don't become millionaires until they're in their 50s, but they think because they don't reach in their 20s that they're not successful.
But I feel like that also highlights another problem where people think their purpose is what they do. So when many people ask them, like, what do you do? Or like that, they start talking about a job position. They talk about like what they're currently doing.
Right.
But that isn't necessarily your purpose, because I feel like your purpose more ties into your, like you mentioned, your impact towards other people, but also living a life that is greater than yourself. So I know how I would say like Romans 8:2 is that it talks about being like being like set free, or like how like we're set free from like sin. So I basically see it as it's our ability to help other people in the way that they need to be helped, finding our true identity in what we believe, and then from what we believe, just operating in love and joy out of the abundance of what we have.
What I found to be profound this past week in Bible study, we were talking about what is your purpose in life? And in that, a lot of times we have the misconception of what our purpose is, or we're confused about what our purpose is. But then what I learned in that lesson is that a lot of times the blessings that we receive in our life, are our purpose to help others. Those blessings are not just for you personally, but they're blessings for other individuals, just like the work that you're doing. You're achieving these things, you're achieving them, but at the same time, you're trying to assist and help other young people. So that's what your purpose is, that's what your blessing is, and that's what you're going out there and you're good at. So that's your purpose. So I believe that's profound in knowing that, because a lot of times we go throughout most of our life not understanding what our purpose is.
So what would you say, like, is your purpose?
Well, my purpose, again, over the years, I thought my blessings were just my blessings, but by being able to have those blessings, I've been able to bless other individuals. So by obtaining certain things, I could take others to different locations to have them get exposure to those environments or those settings that they normally wouldn't be able to do. I was able to retire early, so then I worked other jobs, not under the understanding that I had to have the job, but it was a job that I was there and I was able to assist other people, just by being present and having the experience that I had in my previous jobs and my previous experiences. So those are all blessings. So my purpose is to encourage other folks, motivate other folks, and let them know, hey, you can do whatever you want to do within reason.
I also believe it's important to recognize that your purpose will not stay the same over the course of your life.
Of course not.
It'll change as you progress. And where a lot of people also get up is mistaking the means for the end goal. They feel like when they're receiving all these blessings or they're making progress, that it's now the time to be satisfied or become complacent.
Okay.
But they also need to realize that it is a lifelong process.
If you don't take care of your blessing, you'll lose it.
Right.
Well, I would probably say our purpose doesn't necessarily change. I would say our capacity probably does. So like our purpose doesn't change because I feel like that's like our identity, but how we operate in it can do it. So like what I mean is that when I think of, because at first I thought my purpose was like, let's say like being a nurse or being a videographer, photographer, but then as life went on, I realized my true purpose is just to be a son of God, and then basically outside of all that is that I start to pick up new habits to basically continue to live with that. So I know how right now I'm doing a lot in media where it's like doing a lot of like filming, doing a lot of photography, but then in another season it might be more where I might shift to maybe like running, so then now my lifestyle of running impacts people, or maybe one season is more business and like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the biggest thing is that it's different in different aspects of your life, but the main thing doesn't change.
Right.
Just certain seasons in life, it requires to be more prominent in other areas. Like when you go to school, you're going to be focused on school. But once you have that specific, once you graduate, you're going to be more focused on your job. Right. But at the end of the day, don't stop those other avenues of those life. Even though one side of your life is going to be not as much, just because you work many hours doesn't mean you stop giving yourself that health or helping that time with your family or spending time with your community. The biggest thing that's key is that you're able to go and maintain those main purpose that you're continuing to do, despite the distraction and things that try to take you off those different courses. And even the same part about tying this back to Juneteenth as far as our purpose. How are you going to celebrate talking about freedom and liberty, but we still have majority of people in our communities living paycheck to paycheck? We still got kids getting killed every single weekend. We have people that don't even know where the next move is. We have an economy where we have terrible leadership, and we think that we are free. We think freedom just because we got a nice car, we got a nice watch, and we got views. When freedom and actual liberation is when we have our own businesses, have our own culture, and we have good representation. Like what are you talking? I believe that Black excellence is a scam because we're talking about all these people like this thing is excellent. We think that LeBron is excellent. LeBron should be the standard. We shouldn't just celebrate because one person is doing it well. That should be the standard for our community. But we standardize things that are actually unproductive, that they're gonna put talking about scamming and doing things that are negative than actually pushing things that can make us actually think. Because the more that they want us to be divided and talk about scamming, talking about being rappers, being just athletes, when that's only one avenue of us. Until we put that to the forefront, we're just going and putting a facade of something that's not actually real. And we're one of the most influential groups of people, but we don't have ownership. And that ties back to our next thing. The median black wealth in this country is $24,000. The median black wealth in Chicago is zero. So we are making more incomes than ever, but the thing is we're not having ownership. We don't have ownership in ourselves. We don't have ownership in our blocks. We don't have ownership in our communities and how we're continuing to be known. Like, where do you think that we as people especially can shift that narrative moving forward in this future economy?
I believe we can shift it by stop trying to focus on one thing.
Right.
When I was in school, I was versatile. I was doing a lot of different things, and that way you're able to adjust with the environment, and when things change in society, you're able to shift and do something else. Right. But I think now people are focusing, especially with young black children, they're I want to be a baseball player. And right. That's all that they focus on. And I'm going to be a baseball player, and that's it. I'm going to be a football player. That's it. I'm going to be a basketball player, and that's it. And when that doesn't happen, now their whole life just spirals all the way down, because that's what they believe. Right. Their purpose and their identity is that one aspect of their life. So if that doesn't come through from there, it just goes down.
Absolutely. But they don't understand that those things that they learn from being an athlete is things that are foundational for the other aspects of their life.
Right.
Use that skill set from an athlete to go and get yourself in other positions, because these employers want people that are athletes because you're more competitive, you're on point, you're on time, and you're used to being able to perform under pressure. So utilize that skill set to other avenues of your life, because that's just their foundation. But just be, like I said, who you are and what your job is not who you actually are. That's only one avenue of yourself. And the more that we can focus on, like you said, being versatile in other avenues as a community. And we have to be able to go in and persevere. We've been able to persevere through other times. Why couldn't we do it again? But the thing is, we need to stop complaining about stuff that doesn't actually matter. This Juneteenth in Chicago, we opened up the Obama Presidential Library in Chicago. But I hear so many black people talking about how Obama Library is not good for our community. You have Jackson Park, and you have at a multi-billion-dollar facility in the south side of Chicago, and people complain about property taxes. Yes, property taxes are going up, but just as everything else, that price of that purse you're buying, the price of that car is going up, the price of your gas is going up, the price of everything is going up. But if you don't own anything, you're going to continue to get priced out. Like, since you're paying rent for everyone, but you think that owning is too much, the price of you not owning will cost you the thing that you always desire. Because we want to be so fixated on things, taking things as easy, that we don't want to actually go own. People complain about the hood when there's nothing there, when you got nothing but corner stores, currency exchanges, and violence. But the second you have investment in the community, that same vacant building that people could have bought for a couple $1,000s, nobody wants, because every people in other communities buy it. And the second they do it and things appreciate, people are like, why can't we keep up? Because none of you all, another man's trash, another man's treasure. And if we don't buy up our own communities, other people will, and we'll continue to push up. We only have a 32% home ownership rate in Chicago as African Americans. And if we don't, and our average credit score is in the 500s. If we increase our credit scores and we increase our home ownership, don't buy the house by yourself, buy it with your community.
So why do you think that's the situation? What is it that those individuals What are they doing that allows them to be in that position?
We need to stop thinking individually. We have to stop thinking that we have to get it out the mud by ourselves, but we can all get it out together. We've been programmed to think that we have to be successful by being able to do it all by ourselves. A self-made millionaire. That's the dumbest thing people can understand. That no one that makes $1 million by themselves.
And what programs us?
The program is what we see within media, what we see within society.
Exactly.
We think that just because you have certain things that means that your self-worth is what other people see, and that you have to get it out, and that there's no successful people at the top. But the thing is, people don't understand is that there's more success when we all win.
But
there's less successful when you don't have teams and systems in your life that help you collaborate with other people. Every single community that translates wealth together works together. There's no multi-billion, Fortune 500 company where it's made by individual people. They need at least a team of people to make something happen. And especially if you're in a position where you don't have as much capital, you have more people working together, you get more. If all of us put $10,000, we can buy a property, and instead of one person to get $50,000 by themselves. That's a little bit over $12,000 each. But we have to stop understanding that we can't do it by ourselves. We have to focus on things that actually matter. Would you rather have 100% of nothing or 10% of something that's amazing? And everyone's, someone else is gonna steal my idea. Yeah, they're gonna steal your idea. If it's just an idea, but you don't actually implement it, or you don't actually build a good tangible product, then you're just like everyone else. And that doesn't actually matter. We need to stop doing this. Like I get tired of people complaining on social media. You put so much time into energy and texting your phone, talking about an issue, than getting out the house and actually going out there and create the change.
But even going back to the library, is that the presidential library actually provided a lot more resources even for the community, because now you have a space where people can host an event. So you as a teenager can go from an event to playing basketball and getting a book in the same place. So that's literally like you're able to educate yourself through books and through like the artwork, and just having like the inspiration just to dream bigger than what you are.
Right. I think it's the exposure aspect.
Right.
But I believe that the Obama Library is a good thing, but I believe the issue is we as a people have to get this we're only athletes mindset out of our head,
right.
And know that you're more than just an athlete. Yeah, it's good to be an athlete. It's good to achieve those things. But like you said, and like I've expressed to you all as you've been growing up, hey, yes, you're doing this, you're doing it well. Use it to your advantage to move into different realms in life and utilize it to assist you, because that's how you get recognized through those things. But again, that's not your only identity. You got to have another identity. You got to have another focus other than that, because again, you don't want to just think that. And over the years, I've heard people, in order to be successful, you got to focus on this one. No, you don't have to just focus on that one thing. I think that's the problem. People are focusing on this one thing, and when that doesn't happen, everything just goes down from there.
But I also feel like that's also why I was able to be successful or be where I am today, is because with being the athlete at Southern, is that while I was being the athlete, I was still networking with other people. I was still doing my media business, so that when my time with athletics ran out, now I have a media business to leverage other opportunities. And then even from the other opportunities with the business, now I have more opportunities to help people again. So now it creates almost like a cycle where I'm able to feel fulfilled with what I do, but also be able to help other people, to help them in their ideas, or to help collaborate on future endeavors.
Right.
I think that's the other thing. Like, it's just being versatile. Like, we're all here former athletes, former track and field football athlete, wrestling, football, wrestling, everything, Christian, cross country, and track.
I even played baseball.
Right. Right. So that's the biggest thing that's most important. And then, like I said, just being able to have that exposure. Being able to see one thing about President Obama is one thing is seeing that it's actually possible that someone that is black, someone that's from the South Side of Chicago, can see themselves in a position of being one of the most prominent leaders inside the world, and not doing it from something that's traditionally seen outside of a rapper, outside of being an athlete, but someone who's doing it off of being resilient, off of being intelligent, off of being standing on values. You don't have to agree with him politically, but he's someone who stood as a prominent figure for the world.
Absolutely.
And what he stood for, just off of his voice and impact for people who never thought they could be a president, that they now have a president. Now they have something in the South Side of Chicago that's going to continue to build that history, because that representation matters. And people don't understand that yes, he was a president, but no, he was more than a president for a lot of people across the world. And especially for us as Black people, it's something that we have to continue to protect. We stop focusing about all that small stuff, but I'm talking about the things that's going to actually build us up, because we're focused on things that's unproductive. But the productive conversations are how can we go and prepare ourselves to be able to follow and build off his footsteps. Because oftentimes we don't appreciate things until they're gone. And that's like anything. How can we use that foundation and learn from his stepping stones that we can go and build our next generation of leaders?
The greatest example that we can learn from President Obama is the obstacles that he faced throughout that time that he was achieving to reach the president's position. And once he got into the president's position, the opposition that he received as he was in the position, and he still performed at a high level and still did things that were positive, and he still maintained high standards and morals. And even now, after being out of the presidency, he's still doing that, and he's being the father and the leader of his family, and he's doing all of these great things for the community, despite other individuals trying to break him down and diminish what he's done. And although they've done that, he's continued to remain positive and continue to achieve more, and continue to do more for the community and for the people, and inspire others to do the same.
Right.
Well, I'd say my favorite part about him, just like seeing him develop over time, is because obviously when we're younger, we're not really familiar with politics or what's going on. But I would say the best part for me was just like his word choice. So when it came to the way he spoke, is that oftentimes when we were younger, he would use these big words, like the word I remember now is ignorant. So then when I hear ignorant, then I'm gonna ask my dad, what does that word mean? And then from when you tell me, then I start putting it in my vocabulary to actually start using that. And just even like something as small as that creates opportunities for young kids, especially for young kids of color, to be able to start increasing our vocabulary so that we can have opportunities where we can speak in a profound way so that we can have greater opportunities than what people can imagine.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. Like, kids need to stop talking about all this nonsense. Pull up your pants, take off the ski mask, and build something, build your vocabulary, build your mindset, build your skill set, and do something productive. All this stuff of us being seen in a low level needs to stop. Like, stop calling yourself a YN and call yourself with a doctor or a PhD or something that's actually productive. Because the second that we're distracted on all this nonsense, like you say, of course it's easy to go and do those low level things, but we need to go and prioritize high level things. Use these phones as a resource for you to go and learn the greatest opportunity in history. There's never been more information ever, but we're more distracted than ever before.
And to be able to get it efficiently.
Right.
You know, and so the task is to make it effective.
Right.
You know, not use it for negative, but use it for positive things. So again, you know, we have to remain positive. We have to remain with high standards.
Right.
You know, so stop. I'm glad you brought up the position of you know, the terminology that you use. You know, too many young people are using initials, you know, to speak. So nobody, the older individuals like myself don't understand what they're saying in most situations because they're using initials. When I was coming up, you had to use the actual word first, and then you can use initials after it. But you had to identify what the initials meant. But now everybody's talking in initials, and then you just have to try to find out what they're talking about.
I say like people will spend more energy talking about these rap lyrics than they would using their tone and voice to introduce themselves. Like, how are you gonna go and promote all these different artists, all these different things that's gonna put you in a low connotation, but you can't go up and shake someone's hand and say your name, and you can't go out there and actually go in and actually tell your voice for something that's gonna help you get a job. The thing isn't because we don't have a lack of resources. We have more resources than ever.
Right.
It's a lack of implementation and collaboration in our community.
So, but let's look at that. When they're focusing on that rap artist or the individual that they're promoting, who are they promoting? That artist. They're not promoting themselves. So again, the focus
Right.
is wrong. So they're helping that individual, but not helping themselves. That doesn't make sense to me.
It's a wrong thing. We think everyone else is going to help us, but we can't help ourselves. That's a whole entire misrepresentation that we have of our whole entire terminology. How are we going to go and promote all these other brands for free? We're going to promote Elon Musk. We're going to promote Apple. We're going to promote Louis Vuitton, but we can't go and promote ourselves in order to get ourselves a job or promote our own business or our own community. That's a whole entire thing. We have it wrong within ourselves. We're the only people that, like we say, we're the people that leave our communities when they become successful. And we spend our money everywhere but ourselves.
But also, that's even going back to the main point, that's the reason why fathers matter, is because fathers in the household are able to teach especially for young men, specifically for young men, is that they're able to teach a role of how to be a man or how to operate in that type of level. But when you grow up or have families where they don't have a dad or where the dad isn't representing his role to where he needs to be or where he's called to be, then we have people who are, because at the end of the day, people are going to look for father figures regardless. So they're going to start looking at it in the rappers. They're going to start, not saying that all of them are bad, but like they're going to start looking at it for what they see. So
The example.
The example. So if it's that, if their father isn't in their life, but they see the gang member looks pretty cool, then they're going to go to him.
The gang member is their protector.
Right.
Or like a lot of guys are growing up to be men, but they didn't know have that male figure to actually become one. Mm-hmm. Like you're saying, like how would someone know how to actually become a man if they don't have that presence of someone to actually teach them the way to become it? That's why you have this generation of broken families, because you don't have that actual balance of male figures and collectively with women figures in their life to actually become some sort of unit. It's more of a division or one side or us versus them. It's promoted within movies, within TV shows, within podcasts, but doesn't actually show them that's actually working together collectively. And the second that we work together, understanding that a man shouldn't have to provide for women just because they look pretty and just pay them money. And a woman isn't valuable just because of their looks, but they're valuable off of how they can work together to be able to be something amazing. We need to stop all of that nonsense about women trying to get a man that has to make six figures. Do you deserve that man that makes six figures? And same thing with a guy. Just because you have money, do you deserve this woman that's actually able to provide for something? We have this unrealistic expectations. If you're someone who can't go out there and buy that designer bag, then don't expect someone else to buy it for you. And if you're someone that expect to get this woman that looks a certain way and you're not able to go and have a certain standards and respect for yourself, then you shouldn't be talking to them. And that's the thing that we need to understand as a community, that we have to get these unrealistic expectations. If you can't expect it for yourself, don't expect it for someone else, especially if you're trying to be a high-level person in high-level spaces.
But let's think about that mindset. If you have an individual that's trying to obtain a young lady because of her looks, she's not always going to look that way. Mm-hmm. So then that goes into the situation where the relationship doesn't last, because he feels that those looks are not there like the individual was when they first met. Mm-hmm. So again, all of those different things is what's your priorities, what's your standards. You know, be real about these situations. Just like the young lady, her appearance changes. The same thing for the men.
Right.
You know, so you can't. You know, it's not sensible to think that somebody's gonna have that same appearance. You know, from when they're young until they become seniors.
Right. That's the biggest thing. What do you think, Cameron?
I also believe that building an entire relationships on the basis of one's physical appearance or one's like initial attraction to this person is just a recipe for disaster.
Right.
Right. And like you should have that same expectation within itself. Like if I'm someone who's fit, I go to the gym almost every day. And I have a specific standard of being disciplined, being goal oriented, and me going on and do things in my life. I can expect that same thing of someone else because I do that same thing for myself. But people be saying, okay, I want someone that makes 6 figures. I want someone that has all these amazing things, but they don't even expect that for themselves. And that's where people have the whole entire thing wrong. And they think, so everything's off of social media, but they don't actually go off of actual values. They go after actual morals, after actual goals of who they're going to be, not who they already are, and what their future alignment is as far as their future. That's the biggest thing that people need to understand, especially in today's society, especially in our families.
And I feel like that's exactly what that's exactly what I feel like it means to be a man, is to be able to set the standard for the way that you want to live, and then
Absolutely.
by your lifestyle, people will naturally look up to you or follow your example.
Let me give you an example of that. When I first met your mom, and then I proposed, and we decided to get married. From my observation, most people, when they got married, they focused so much on the actual marriage ceremony.
Right.
And so when your mom came to me and we were talking about it, and I was like, listen, I was like, it doesn't make sense for us to spend all this money on this wedding. I said, because from the examples that I've seen throughout my life, the people would do that. And then the relationship only lasts a year or 2 years and it's done. So they've spent all this money on the ceremony. So rather than do that, we had we paid for our wedding, but what I did was I purchased a home.
Right.
We didn't go on a honeymoon, because I purchased a home, and I explained, hey, I'm going to purchase a home, and I said we'll do traveling after that, because how many people, and the way I expressed to her was how many people that we know they get married, and as young as we were in our 20s. So I purchased this home. I said, most people that get married, they're living in apartments, and they spend all this money on a wedding, and they have nothing to show for it after the wedding, and the relationship just goes and is destroyed.
Yeah,
So again, you have to have that mindset to want to do things and accomplish things, and where your standards and priorities are. So with me, my priority wasn't to do this big wedding thing to make everybody say, oh, they spent all this money, because that's just money that you're throwing out the door.
Right.
And
That's the worst investment you can make. The average wedding in the United States is $40,000. The worst investment you can make in your 20s is invest into a bad relationship. You should spend in your 20s on building a skill set, something that's going to help you build your relationships, and something that's going to help you go and build that eventual capital that you'll use to invest in yourself.
And
that $40,000 that you put in a wedding is something that's going to go down the drain that you think for one night, but use that $40,000 to go and help build a down payment on investment property or mentorship or education. It's going to build you way more return on investment in your life, and you'll see a lot of those things that you stressed on about relationships will go away if you just focus on what the main thing is, and the rest will come.
Yeah, and that's exactly how we create a legacy that lasts beyond ourselves, and not just stay in the present, focus on our problems of today, but then that's actually how we build the legacy. So with probably like in closing, I would say, what would you say is the best way that you've built the legacy, and then how we can continue it going forward?
I would say that by being in your lives and being able to direct your paths. Because again, as a father figure, again, I've seen fathers go and tell their children, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And the results of that, most of the time, the children resent and do the opposite. I felt that my job was to expose you and allow you to experience things, and then you make the decisions. Because again, being a man is not, you don't want somebody else making decisions for you throughout your life. Because if I'm the father and I'm telling you what to do, as you grow older, you won't be able to make your own decisions.
Right.
So I felt that my job was to expose you to different things, allow you to decide what you want to do, and then I can give you direction. It's up to you whether you want to take my advice or not. Just like it's your job to take anybody else's advice or not. But again, I'm not going to tell you what not to do, because you know what not to do and what you're able to do. But from the other side, if you do something and you do it wrong, you just have to be willing to face the repercussions that come from those decisions. Mm-hmm. So as a man, I'm trying to teach you, hey, yeah, you can make your own decisions. You got advisors and people that give you suggestions and advice about different things. It's up to you which advice you want to take. But again, the results of your decision, you have to live with it, whether it's good or bad. And you have to accept that and continue to move in the direction that you want to go.
Right. And I think a lot of people get the misconception that think that just because they have a kid, it actually makes them a man. But being a man and being a real father is a responsibility of you being able to provide, not just for just them to live, but for them to help them exceed. We need to think that just because someone birthed somebody doesn't mean that they're actually doing an impact. Right. We should be able to set up our kids, not just because for 18 years, but be able to help them set them up for the rest of their life, financially, education, exposure, resilience, but all out health, but being able to go and use that so they can do the same thing for their kids, become better and better each and every generation. And so many times, especially in the community, we're so focused about what we've already done, but we don't focus about how can we preserve this for future generations. A lot of us are focused about investing, okay, it's not going to benefit me, but you look at other communities, they don't plan for 5 years, they don't plan for 10 years, they plan for 200 years. Mm-hmm. They put these things in place so that their kids can be successful. I saw this video online where they're talking about the horse racing track. It said, I'm wealthy because my grandfather owns the place. And yeah, people get mad about it, but that's what you actually need to have in our communities. Why don't we go and do that same thing for our communities? We're so focused about what we can do now, but we don't want to actually pass something down for future generations. And we wonder why every other community is thriving. We got Chinatown, we got Greek Town, we got other types of places, Little Italy, but we don't have a place for ourselves. And that's because we don't continue to build that legacy. We're only focused about the now. We're focused about the present, about what type of car we can have, what type of things people we can impress. But we don't actually focus on the things that actually help and build wealth. If we have more life insurance policies, the crime rate would go down because these insurance companies get tired of these black boys and girls getting killed in the south and west side of Chicago, and because we have to give them all these insurance policies. And we have to stop with these GoFundMes and go and get life insurance policies. We need to stop with these quick relationships and build actual families. We need to stop with getting quick money and build sustainable business that help and build the community. And I don't think freedom and Juneteenth is a real celebration until we have economic power. It makes no sense that we have more Rolls Royces and Mercedes-Benz than we have investment accounts in our communities. We are the biggest consumers, but we can't go and build something for ourselves and have ownership. And the second that we create that, that's the second that we'll continue to see things actually change. Stop looking for government handouts. Stop looking for all these different things that's happening and look at how we can go up and help each other and build this up collectively. And that's the biggest thing that we need is ownership. If we don't have ownership in ourselves and our communities, the things that we see will continue to stay the same.
So this is our opportunity as a family to stay together and work together to get things done and accomplished and show the example to others on how it should be done. But we got to continue to work together and not just stand back and wait for the other person to do it alone. So that's my push to you guys is that we do this because this is an opportunity. Right. This is opportunity for us. This is opportunity for our community.
Absolutely. So thank you all for checking in for this last episode. Make sure to like and subscribe. We will be back again with some special guests coming very soon. We will see you all later. Thank you all again for tuning in. See you.